what's up guys, MacDee. Today I'm joined by Captain John Van Deventer, who works now for American Airlines. But he did 9.5 years in the Navy. He was in active duty for 7 years and then 2.5 years enlisted. So thank you for being here. I'm glad you could join me today. So let's jump up into our warm-up questions. And what is your favorite fast food restaurant?
Oh, I'd probably have to say Taco Casa.
Oh, okay. That's the first on the channel. What is your favorite item on the menu?
Just tacos.
Just in general?
Yeah, because the way they build them really nice.
Okay. What's your favorite holiday?
Probably Thanksgiving. We get a lot of family to come over to the house, and it's a lot of fun that time of year.
Yeah. So you've traveled a lot. So what is your favorite place you've traveled to in the U.S.?
Well, in the U.S., I see a lot of the U.S. because of all the flying I do.
Yeah.
Probably some of the favorite spots might be San Diego. It's real pretty there. I like to go around that city, see some of the sights down at the shoreline. My old ship is down there, the USS Midway. It's on display.
Okay. Awesome.
So the Midway's there, and I've toured it a couple of times. So
yeah,
probably have to say San Diego.
Okay, cool. So for pre-training like stuff, why did you join the military? Why did you make that step?
Well, it was a jump to get into flying.
Mm-hmm.
To try to fly civilian-wise, it's very expensive, and the military provides the training for flying, and when you get accepted, so I just thought I'd go into the Navy, fly airplanes in the Navy, and see how it went from there.
Yeah, okay. So that was just like a path, you wanted to do aviation, and
yeah,
you got it paid for, which was pretty nice. Awesome. Whenever you had to do your first part of training, what was the hardest thing about leaving?
Probably,
if anything.
Well, getting the change that they make for you when you enter into training, into boot camp kind of stuff, is that you lose your individuality,
mm-hmm.
and everybody gets their hair cut.
Yeah.
It was a big deal back then because I had the 70s hair.
The flow.
Yeah. And so we all lost our hair, and they cut us down to size, so to speak. So that was probably the worst part. But you know what? That only lasts like a day or two, and then everybody's on the same page.
Yeah. Do you have a funniest memory from training?
From training?
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's see here. We line up for chow,
mm-hmm.
and drill instructor usually stands at the head, but the day that we were lined up for chow this particular day, one of the student leaders was up there, and he would usher us into the chow hall. Well, off in the bushes right next to him was one of the drill instructors, and he was in camouflage in the bushes, and the guy's name that was ushering us in, his name was Tabor. So suddenly we hear the drill instructor say, "Tabor, can you hear me?" "Yes, sir, I can hear you." "Tabor, can you see me?" And he says, "Yes, sir, I can see you." "How can you see me? I'm camouflaged." And for all of us in line, everything was very serious, and trying to maintain our composure was tough.
Yeah.
Tough that day. That was funny. Funny
So
day.
you just did it just to mess with him?
Just messing with him.
That's funny.
Yeah.
What was the hardest thing you had to face during training?
Probably the non-stopness of it, if you want to call it that. I mean, you didn't sleep much. You had to study. You had a lot of physical stuff going on, and probably just the pace of operation. There was no days off. I mean, we just went and went and went for 3 months. Mm-hmm. And there's a movie out, an old movie out called Officer and a Gentleman, and it kind of displays some of the things that we did, a little less of the drama that they had in the movie, but it kind of shows what our lifestyle was during that part of training.
Yeah, cool. So after your initial officer boot camp, if you will, what was next for you? What did you go to?
Well, we went right to flight training, and my flight training started at Whiting Field, Pensacola area.
Oh, okay.
And
in Florida.
I started in a T-28 Trojan, which was an old reciprocating engine, radial engine airplane. Did about 90 hours in that airplane, and then we went from there to Kingsville, Texas, where I started jet training, in the T-2 Buckeye. Spent about 6 months flying that airplane, and then another 6 months flying the TA-4J Skyhawk. And I got my wings in the Skyhawk. That's when we went out to the carrier, the Lexington, to qualify.
Gotcha.
Once we had our wings, then we got assigned to a fleet squadron flying a fleet airplane, which was for me the A-7E Corsair II, and it was out on the West Coast.
Okay.
And spent about 8 months training out there before I got assigned to my fleet squadron.
Okay, and so yeah, let's talk about that. What was your first assignment and what did you do?
Yeah, the fleet squadron was over in Japan, attached to the Midway. The Midway was permanently deployed over in Japan.
Okay.
So it was based in Yokosuka, Japan, and the airplanes were based in Atsugi. And we would fly on the carrier 2-3 months out to sea. We'd come back for a month, back out for 2 or 3 months, and we sailed all over the Far East, Sea of Japan, all the way down to the Philippines, down to Australia, the Sea of Indian Ocean. Did some flying out there, and that's pretty much what I did for 2.5 years attached to that ship.
Yeah.
Over in Japan.
Yeah. Did you ever attend any additional schooling of any kind?
Well, we had leadership management training within the military. I had a school on electronic warfare.
Okay.
And then kind of our graduate training, if you would call it, the attack version of Top Gun was called Light Attack Weapons School. And we flew out of Navy Fallon area, and we did 2 solid weeks of intensive low-level carrying bombs training, and then we would go back to our fleet squadrons and help teach the other guys about some of the latest tactics.
Yeah, super cool. Out of all the places they got to travel to, what was your favorite place?
Oh, favorite place to travel all over the traveling. I've seen a lot of the world. You know, I kind of enjoyed the Philippines.
Okay.
The Philippines were a beautiful place. Some of the most beautiful flying I ever did around some of the islands and the mountain areas that they have. We did a lot of cool flying around that area. Just beautiful.
That's awesome. Did you get a chance to interact with the natives and the culture there?
Well, everywhere we went, we would do some. We would get out. Like, we got to learn a lot about how the Japanese live, the Philippines. We spent time there, a little bit in Korea. And what I found out, different from the way we are in the United States, is that most of those areas, they live in a tighter community. Everybody's closer together. You wouldn't think so in a big city like the Dallas-Fort Worth area that you would feel like you had wide open spaces, but it is wide open here compared to what they have over there. They live in a much tighter area. Their family units are all together. They all seem to live together much more than we do here.
Yeah. Did you have any weird, bizarre foods at all?
Well, yeah, we had one crazy food that I couldn't eat. I just couldn't eat. I tried, and I learned how to eat sushi. That was fun. I got to actually enjoy that. It took me about 6 months to get used to it, and then I was looking forward to it. But down in the Philippines, they have a thing called a balut, which is, I like to refer to it as an almost chicken. It's not an egg and it's not a chicken. It's in between. And that I couldn't handle.
Oh, just a weird texture.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah. Sounds weird. This is one of my favorite questions is, was there an act of courage in someone else that you saw or heard about that you wanted to share?
Well, I operated in a time frame where it was peacetime. There was not any wartime activities going on, but I will say that some of the things that we did out at sea were very challenging. And I just have to spread it out amongst our group that I flew with, that day in and day out, we did things that were borderline, courageous, borderline crazy. But the environment that we flew in out there was dangerous. However, we were well trained at what we did, and not necessarily have one thing that stands out as a courageous moment, but I will say that it was very challenging for all of us out there.
Yeah. Whenever you got out, how was adjusting to civilian life?
It was good. My wife and I had a baby as soon as we got out of the military, and it was good timing to get out because I knew that I'd have to go back to sea and be gone for 6-8 months at a time. And having a baby at home and working for American Airlines now, I was home a lot more often. So that was good.
Just worked out.
Yeah.
Perfect. If you could go back and do it all over again, would you?
Absolutely. I wouldn't change a thing.
Yeah.
I fell into this whole Navy flying deal. When I was 19 years old, I started flying Cessnas out at Arlington Airport.
Oh, cool.
And my instructor actually had gotten out of the military after the Vietnam War. And he told me, if you want to have fun, go in the Navy and fly. And I just listened to what he said, and I just went down and applied, and there we went,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Super cool. What 3 words would you use to describe your military career?
Probably exciting, adventure, and educational.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I feel like coming out of the military, I felt like it trained me, it taught me how to be a man, and how to live my life, how to, like a code, and it's served me well.
Yeah, awesome. Learned a lot. That's awesome.
Absolutely.
Thank you for your service. Thank you for your time. God bless you. Thanks, sir.
Absolutely.